In the pre-dawn darkness, security guard Edward Rudy is making his nightly rounds. Charged with patrolling a vacant office park on the east side of Colorado Springs, Rudy turns down the alley on the building's backside.
He came upon the Whitney Young Apartments, and he saw a woman sitting on the concrete.
So he pulled up to her and he got out of his car.
Ma'am? Ma'am! You need to move along.
He called out to her, "You need to leave. This is a secure building."
You gotta get out of there.
And surprising him, she says, "I can't."
My friend needs help.
At that time, he saw a male individual lying on his back on the landing area of the building. He thought he saw blood next to this man's head.
I'm gonna go get some help.
At CSPD headquarters, Lt.Joe Kenda is just getting started with his day.
I was doing my normal morning routine. And I'm making coffee because coffee is the fluid that makes the police department run. I then go to my desk and I'm basically deciding all the detectives, marching orders for the day. And the phone rings.
Kenda.
I know who that is. And my thought was, I don't know why I'm planning the day. Because somebody's just about to tell me what my day is going to involve.
Dispatch informs Kenda there's an apparent homicide on the 2200 block of East Bijou Street.
I'm on the way.
By the time Kenda arrives at the scene, his friends and the media are already waiting to pounce.
The most incredible thing about the press is the standard first question is I have 1 foot out of the car.
And here he comes now. Detective, do you have any suspects?
My answer was always the same to that question.
Yes, I do.
I have 600,000 of them, including you.
Detective! Detective!
That tended to stop the questioning for a period of time till I could find out what was happening.
Good morning, Lieutenant. Yes, it is. So what do we got? Elderly male, deceased.
There was no identification on him. They had no idea who this male was.
There was a woman with him, however, if you want to talk to her.
Where's she at?
Right up here in the back of the car.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you step out of the car, please?
The female was in a daze. She appeared to be intoxicated. She had blood on her clothing and on her hands.
Kenda's first step is to question the witness, but that's easier said than done.
This girl is falling down drunk, hopeless drunk.
Can you tell me what your name is?
Grace.
She says, my name is Grace Todd.
Kenda knows if he wants answers from Grace Todd, he'll have to wait for her to sober up.
Let's get her to the hospital.
Yes, sir.
Grace Todd is obviously a star witness. She has knowledge of this. She has many, many things I want to know, but she's in no position to tell me. When she gets better, then we're going to have a long and serious heart-to-heart. But I have time before that can even take place. So I'm going to look at other things. Our victim is laying very close to the wall near the building. He is thin. He is elderly. How old is he? Hard to say. If he's an alcoholic, and I suspect that he is, then he's going to look older than he really is. But he's probably in a minimum in his 60s. He has blood on the front of his clothing and blood on his face.
But despite all the blood, Kenda can't find any visible wounds.
Where did the blood come from?
It's hard to tell.
I don't see any gunshot wounds, any tearing of the clothes, any stab wounds.
There's something wrong with his face.
The coroner hasn't arrived yet, so Kenda decides to check out the victim himself.
I'm looking at his face. I look at his eye sockets, the orbits around the eyes. It just looks odd to me. And I turned to one of my guys and I said, look at his eyes. They don't look right. So I'm wearing a pair of rubber gloves and I pushed open his right eye. There's no eye. The eyeball isn't there. I open the other eye. That eyeball isn't there either. They've been removed.
Good God.
I can't believe that the eyeballs are gone.
It's a horrible notion to think that your eyes could be actually gouged out of your face and to have both of them gouged out at the same time. How is that physically possible? Can that really happen? Yes, it can. And it did in this case.
But the empty eye sockets aren't the only horrifying clue.
I look at his mouth, and it doesn't look right either. His lips are kind of protruding slightly, so I pull his lower lip back.
Holy! You see that?
There's an eyeball in his mouth, and it's looking at me. Oh, hello. Several guys decided to lose their breakfast at that moment after having seen that. It's disgusting, it's revolting, it's scary, it is bizarre, it is holy smokes kind of thing. It's everything all at once. This eye looking at me from inside this guy's mouth was almost enough to push me over the edge. You're looking at this and you think, who on this planet that is human would do this? So you sit back for a second and you say, good God, what the hell is this?
Kenda's next step is to identify the victim.
So we have any idea who this guy is?
Patrol Officer John Stewart offers up a lead.
I think I know who this might be.
Where do you know him from?
I recall picking up the victim outside of a liquor store about a month previous, and I took him to the facility that was there to receive intoxicated people so that they would have an opportunity to dry out and receive treatment.
So take a picture of him, take it with you, detox, and give me a name.
Caseworkers at the detox center identify the victim as one Vern Roger Cave.
He is 62 years old. He looks way older. We discovered that Mr. Cave served in World War II.
After he left the military, Vern followed his passion for cooking.
Vern was a professional chef. He'd been a chef a good part of his life. He was an excellent cook.
Vern was also a good friend.
Vern was just always there to help if you needed help. Just a helpful man.
But Vern also struggled with alcoholism.
Vern was not an uneducated man. He was smart. When he was sober, he knew that drinking was wrong. But alcohol was stronger than his willpower, I guess.
It's always a tragic thing, in my view, when people lose their way. They become someone they really are not, but they succumb to the lure of alcohol.
With his victim positively ID'd, Kenda orders his team to canvass the area for witnesses.
All right, guys, you know the drill. Let's go knock on these businesses' doors, see if anyone saw anything.
Have you ever seen that gentleman before?
No.
Have you seen anything odd or out of place last few days?
I haven't seen anything.
An hour into the canvass, Kenda locates a potential witness.
An individual was located who was a manager of a secondhand store in the area.
Did you happen to see anything suspicious out of the ordinary last night?
Yeah, this truck came in and guy jumped out.
Well, there was this guy came in here in a pickup truck with a camper shell on it, bailed out of the truck and it looked agitated to me.
Son of a bitch!
Upset about something, looking around like he's looking for somebody.
Do you recognize this guy?
Oh, I know him. Yeah, he's in here all the time. I just saw him like last night. Oh, really?
Do you know what time it was?
I've seen those guys in that truck before.
So you've seen them together?
Yeah.
Now that piques my interest. So we have last night. We know that Vern hasn't been dead that long. We have somebody maybe agitated. who's been seen with our victim in the past. Now he rises up on the radar as somebody we need to find right away. So this case begins like they all do. Everything's a mystery, but all of a sudden, we have this guy. He shows up in a pickup truck and he's upset.
Son of a bitch!
And he's looking for Vern. We need to find out why, and we need to find out who he is.
Lt.Joe Kenda believes the gruesome murder of 60-year-old Vern Cave was personal.
What we're looking for right now is relationships, so we begin with the immediate area where he lives. Everybody around there and what they can tell us about Vern and who he hangs with and who he drinks with. And if they know about a guy in a pickup truck.
Excuse me, ma'am?
We talked to the apartment manager where Vern resides, and she says that, Vern's a nice person. He doesn't cause any problems. She doesn't believe he has an enemy in the world. I hear that a lot, and I always have the same reaction. I disagree. He has one.
Have you talked to his roommates?
He had roommates?
Yeah.
Well, that was a shock. We didn't know there were any roommates. There's a girl and her husband live with him. Well, who are they? Well, the girl's name is Grace Todd, and her husband's name is Gary.
Kenda recognizes the name Grace Todd. She was the inebriated woman security guard Edward Rudy initially encountered at the crime scene.
Did they cause any problems?
Oh, yeah. In fact, they did.
She describes Vern as being a good tenant, and Gary and Grace to be trouble.
What the hell's wrong with the truck? You said you were gonna fix
Grace,
it.
you know I don't have any money.
It's stalled on me again.
What did I just say?
They drink, they argue, they fight. They cause problems all the time. Well, I'm kind of looking for a problem maker.
Does Gary own a pickup truck?
Oh, absolutely. Usually parks in the same place. Let me show you where it is.
Sure.
It's that truck right there. And she points at a truck.
The one with the cap on it?
Yeah, that's it.
It has a camper shell on it. Well, my.
Where's Gary live?
He lives around the corner in number 11.
Thanks for your help.
So we go to where he's supposed to live.
Police, open up!
Yeah?
You Gary Todd?
Yeah?
Now, when people are where they're supposed to be after a violent crime has occurred, that's a point in their favor.
Right away, Kenda can tell that Gary shares Vern's predilection for heavy drinking.
Gary is still obviously drunk, and we obviously just woke him up. But he's reasonably coherent.
I'm Joe Kenda from the Colorado Springs Police Department. Can I come in and talk to you for a minute?
Sure, come on in. And I asked him, are those the clothes you were wearing last night?
Yeah. This and that jacket.
Can I take a look at that?
There's no blood. He's clean as a whistle. Drunk, yes. Disheveled, of course. But no blood. Another point in his favor.
You lived here with Vern Cave?
Yeah.
So I said, Gary, of all the places on Earth, how did you wind up here in this apartment with Vern Cave? Well, he said, my dad and Vern Cave were good friends.
They were in World War II together. You know, my wife Grace and I, we came to town. We didn't really know anybody, and he kind of just took us in.
Vern was very generous with most people that he knew, and if you were on the street and needed a place to sleep, he would open his home.
Well, that makes sense. Vern would extend a courtesy to someone who was a child of his friend.
Where were you last night?
I was out riding around.
Is that your truck out there with the camper shell on it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I was actually out looking for Vern.
What'd you want to find him for?
Gary explains that Vern received his Social Security check that day, which meant he was supposed to be buying drinks for all his friends that night.
Where'd you go looking for him?
The places he goes, I went over by the thrift store. Okay, so you are one and the same with the person our manager saw.
Gary confirms that after he found Vern, he gave him a ride back to the apartment, and the two of them started drinking.
Who all was with you?
Just Vern and my wife, Grace.
And I decided I just had to go to bed. I was like out of it.
Man, I gotta catch y'all later.
Come on.
Man, I'm telling you, I can't do it.
Fine.
See you tomorrow.
Night.
Went back to the bedroom, passed out.
Until we woke you up now. Right.
Kenda has a hunch Gary isn't the killer, but his reaction to the news of Vern's death will be the final test.
Gary, I've got some bad news for you.
What's wrong?
Vern was murdered last night.
Oh, man.
Gary's reaction was genuine and was not the reaction you would get from a killer feigning surprise. He had no idea Vern was dead. And for the present moment, he's off my list. I don't think he's involved. I don't.
But with Gary Todd in the clear, Kenda is out of leads. Then he gets a call.
116 to Kenda.
I get a radio call.
Go for Kenda.
I've got a key witness I think you should speak to.
They didn't say good witness. They didn't say potential good witness. They said key witness. That really boosts my morale.
10-4, I'm on the way.
Keys tend to unlock things, and I need this case to get unlocked. Maybe this is my key. We have a 62-year-old man who's been killed in the most horrible way possible, and his eyes have been ripped out of his skull, for heaven's sake. What we thought was a key suspect has fallen apart, but now we have what is said to be a key witness.
Kenda heads out to interview a witness who claims to have spoken to Vern Cave's killer just minutes after the murder.
I'm introduced to Jeffrey Kelly. Jeffrey Kelly lives very close to the crime scene in a little trailer park.
Jeff Kelly.
I understand you spoke to someone earlier about an incident that happened last night.
I did.
Can you tell me about it?
Well, last night about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, we're laying there talking.
We were hanging out and having a good time, and all of a sudden we hear this loud banging on the door.
It's fine.
Are you expecting something?
No.
Who is that?
I don't know.
This woman is screaming, pretty much, open the door, I need your phone, I need to borrow the phone. So my friend Jeff did go outside to talk to her and see what she needed.
Hey, what's
I need
going
help.
on?
I need to use your phone.
Slow down.
I need your phone. I need your phone.
I don't have a phone.
And then she said, I just killed somebody.
She actually said she killed someone?
She did. I told her I didn't have a phone, and she bolted. She took off after that.
Can you describe her for me?
He said she's in her middle 20s. She's kind of small. She's kind of thin. She has dark hair. She's wearing dark clothing.
Jeffrey's description of the mystery woman is a match for another important player in the case, Grace Todd.
Bingo. The magic lead. He is a key witness, and he just unlocked my case.
But is Grace Todd really the vicious killer police have been looking for?
So you ask yourself, could this little bitty thing here who's drunk, could she do this to this guy?
Imagine the strength of holding somebody down and gouging their eyes out. I mean, what force could that take? It had to be somebody with strength.
At the scene, Grace was too intoxicated to give a statement. But now that she's sobered up, it's time to hear what she has to say.
We've fed this woman enough coffee to where she's reasonably straightened out. I want to know the truth, and she appears to be my best source.
Hi, Grace. I'm Joe Kenda.
Hi.
You realize we're here because Vern Cave is dead?
I didn't do it.
Why don't you tell me what happened?
Well, Vern got paid, so he bought us some booze, and we were all drinking at home.
Gary gets super drunk and Gary decides he's going to go to bed.
Wait a minute.
Come on!
Grace and Vern decide they're going to go over to the vacant office building and drink some more.
Give me some.
Well, give me a minute. Jeez.
At one point, I went to get a cigarette. I'll be back.
And when she returns, she finds Vern.
Vern! Vern!
He's laying there. He is covered in blood.
Vern!
She tries to revive him.
Vern!
She said, "That's why I have blood on my clothes." I slapped him
Wake up!
to wake him up, and I decided he was dead.
So you're saying you had nothing to do with his death?
No.
Grace is adamant that she's innocent, but Kenda doesn't believe her.
When you reach a point in an interrogation when you've been consistently lied to by someone, the ultimate way to tell them that is to announce they're under arrest for murder. No one remains silent when you tell them they're under arrest for murder.
Grace, you're under arrest for the murder of Vern Roger King. You have the right to remain seated.
No! No! Just... Okay,
I said, okay. I poked his eyes out because he tried to get in my pants.
Grace claims that she and Vern were drinking on the landing when Vern made a pass at her.
And he kept touching me, putting his hands on my thighs.
Gracie,
Okay.
Gracie, listen.
No.
Listen.
No.
You know I think you're beautiful.
Vern, stop. Stop.
Come on, baby.
Vern.
Gracie, come on. You know I like you.
I like you, but if you touch me again, I'm gonna kill you.
Gracie, you don't mean that. Come on, honey.
According to Grace, Vern kept touching her, so Grace made good on her threat.
Just stop!
She dives at him,
Do not touch me!
attacks him, takes her thumb and index finger, and pulls the eyes out of his head. And it's like, wow.
You look at somebody like her and her small stature, you wouldn't think that she could be capable of gouging somebody's eyes out and killing them.
So what you're saying is he attacked you and you were just defending yourself?
Yeah.
To say you've been sexually assaulted is one thing, and I take that matter very seriously indeed. However, this young woman has been examined by a hospital. She has no injuries, no defensive wounds, no marks of any kind, no indication she's had sex in the recent past by force or otherwise. The perpetrator, in her mind, is Vern Cave, who is a small, frail old man who everyone describes as kind and wonderful. Did he represent a physical threat to anybody? Not at all. Not at all. So for her to claim he assaulted her and she had to defend herself is ridiculous. Vern couldn't assault anybody.
Well, Grace, I got some bad news for you. You're still under arrest for the murder of Vern Roger Cave.
We handcuffed her and put her in custody.
With Grace behind bars, there's one critical question Kenda has yet to answer. Gouging someone's eyes out is not enough to kill them. So what actually killed Vern Cave? Kenda heads to the coroner's office to find out.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Do we have cause of death yet?
Yes, I have. But you're not going to believe it.
Try me.
Step over here. Cause of death, blocked air passage. Man choked on his own eyeball.
So the murder weapon is a blue eye. Another first. Could some little 25-year-old drunken female do that? She just did.
Grace Todd pleads guilty to second-degree murder and is sentenced to 16 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections. But to Vern's loved ones, her sentence doesn't seem to fit the crime.
I never did understand why she didn't get life for direct murder. The way she did it to me was totally unimaginable. He was a kind, caring man, would give you his last dime if you needed it. He just was a kind, gentle soul.
Something I learned a long time ago: don't ever judge people based on their appearance or their physical size. Humans are the most violent animal on this planet, and they are all capable of enormous levels of violence, given the proper motivation.
Coming up, a torrid love affair ends in tragedy.
I think the emotion takes over judgment and the trigger is pulled. It is the true emotional crime of passion.
In the modest Courtyard Estates apartment complex on the east side of Colorado Springs,
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
23-year-old Andrew Robson and his wife are heading home after a dinner party.
My wife and I, we just finished dinner. We stepped out in the hallway to say goodbye. And that's when we heard a noise.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
It sounded like someone taking a yardstick and slapping it on the wall. Right after that, we heard muffled screaming. Once we made it around the offset in the hallway, I could distinguish that it was a female's voice. But I wasn't able to determine exactly what was going on.
I need your help. Stay with me. Don't die on me. Stay with me. Please stay with me.
When I heard her say, "Don't die on me," everything kind of clicked in, and I realized the sound that I heard was actually a gunshot. Obviously, something bad has happened in this apartment.
Is everything okay?
Robson finds himself looking into the eyes of a terrified young woman.
She was mostly naked, covered in blood from head to toe. It was a male, naked, laying behind the door, face down.
911!
He was shot through the side of his neck. I could hear him breathing. I knew that he was still alive at that point.
He's trying to kill him.
You don't necessarily have time to think about it. You just react. I started administering first aid. I told him to hang on. Help was on the way.
Within minutes, Lt.Joe Kenda arrives at the scene.
Gentlemen?
The victim suffered what appears to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Officers say that this male's name is Donald Corbett. He's 22 years old and he's active duty military. They take him to a hospital where he is pronounced dead. The officer says to me, it's a suicide, the girlfriend witnessed it. I investigate suicides because I don't believe anyone, including my mother, about what might have happened somewhere.
Officers inform Kenda that the girlfriend has been taken to the hospital for evaluation. Her name is Honey Downen.
Honey Downen is 21 years old and is also active duty military.
She's from Phoenix. She's stationed at Fort Carson. She is a radio operator.
Kenda's first step is to examine the evidence at the scene.
When we first enter this room, there is blood everywhere.
Kenda hopes the blood evidence can shed light on what happened. But there's a problem.
Mr. Corbett, after getting this wound, moved, walked, sat, fell down, did all sorts of things, resulting in a disturbance of the blood evidence. We also have a second person in there, his girlfriend. She is interfering with the bloodstain by trying to save him.
It's unclear whether or not suicide was truly the cause of death. But in the bedroom, Kenda's men uncover a telling piece of evidence.
How you doing? Hey, Lieutenant. So what do we got? Got one stuck down here by the bed.
We find the expended bullet at the base of the wall behind the bed. The bullet loses a lot of its energy passing through Mr. Corbett's body, makes some minor damage to the wall, and then falls to the floor.
Where's the weapon at? Right here, sir.
Well, that's one hell of a piece. It's about 7.5-inch barrel.
Yes. It is a Navy Arms remake of a Colt Peacemaker. It fires a .45 caliber long Colt pistol round. The weapon itself has one expended round under the hammer. So at this moment, given what we do know, the odds are looking like this is a self-inflicted wound. However, I can't accept an opinion until I have all the facts, and I don't have those yet. I want to speak to someone who has identified themselves as the only eyewitness to this event, and that is Honey Donald.
Upon arriving at the hospital, Kenda finds Honey being evaluated by a mental health professional.
Excuse me, I'm Detective Kenda. I need to speak with Honey.
When I first see her, she seems to be traumatized. She seems to be what I expect her to be. But I need to speak to this young lady right now.
Kenda asks Honey to supply a little background information on Donald Corbett.
He's from Maryland. He's very outdoorsy.
He likes to camp. He likes to hike.
Met in the military at a party through mutual friends.
She had recently moved in with him.
We were getting married in a year.
Can you tell me about the events that led up to the incident?
He took me to his adoptive mom, Sherry's house on a really beautiful farm.
Sherry Boyer was kind of a mother figure to him. It was important to him to introduce Honey, his intended bride, to Sherry Boyer.
This is Honey.
Honey.
Honey, it's nice to meet you.
It's so nice to meet
He
you.
has talked about you.
They all three get together for this glorious day that goes absolutely wrong almost immediately.
He doesn't have very good taste in women. He's brought some around I didn't like very much.
Sherry Boyer says to Honey that she had met Donald's ex-girlfriend and didn't care for her. And this sets Honey off a little bit.
Yeah, can I talk to you for a second, please?
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
wrong?
Do you want to tell me about your exes, or did you want to let her do that? Because I'd much rather hear it from you.
Donald's idea of introducing her to Sherry Boyer has turned into an unmitigated disaster.
Honey claims that when they returned home, the argument over Donald's ex-girlfriends further intensified.
You dated for 2 years and you didn't think you needed to tell me about her?
You really want to talk about Caitlin?
Yes, but the last time I want to talk about Caitlin. Oh, where are you going? You're really gonna walk away right now?
Finally, Donald takes the gun out of the holster. She says he's done this before.
Oh, we're gonna play that game again?
And he was waving it around and aiming it at me like he does a lot. And then he stuck it to his head.
Honey insisted that Donald liked to flip this gun around, liked to aim it at her, sometimes liked to aim it at himself. This could have been some kind of prove your love thing. I'm so angry with you, I'm gonna kill myself unless you stop me.
She says she tries to disarm him, but it's entirely too late.
People kill themselves in front of other people for anger, for sympathy, for power. At the age of 21, suicide in the name of love is sadly not uncommon.
I know this is difficult.
That's when Kenda notices a curious gray mark on Honey's arm.
Can you tell me about the powder burn on your arm?
I say to her, that item right there, I can see it on your arm, is from being in proximity to a gun when it's discharged.
I told you, my hand was really close because I pulled the gun away.
Are you saying that I shot him?
No, I didn't say that, honey. There's a certain simmering level of anger underneath the surface. That's not the reaction I expected.
What's happening in here?
Thank you for talking to me.
I'm not comfortable with how she's reacting to this. My instincts are starting to rise up in me. There's something about her that annoys me. "22-year-old Donald Corbett has seemingly committed suicide in front of his girlfriend, 21-year-old Honey Downen. Or at least that's according to the girlfriend. I need some evidence to tell me one way or the other the truth of it all. If it's true that Donald Corbett does in fact shoot himself, the physical evidence from the autopsy is going to provide the answer."
Kenda heads to the coroner's office to inspect Donald Corbett's body.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, Lieutenant.
How you doing?
Not bad.
Dr. Byerman is the coroner at this time. He determines this bullet severs the subclavian artery.
Cause of death, exsanguination. Shot through the left neck, exit wound through the right shoulder.
Exsanguination is the medical term that you have bled to death.
Through the neck. It's like a pretty painful way to kill yourself.
Absolutely.
Kenda finds the location of the wound puzzling.
What can you tell about the range of fire?
Medium range, no less than 18 inches.
For this to be a suicide, I need to find contact to near contact entrance wound. With a 7.5-inch barreled handgun and you having to turn your own arm to accomplish the task, it's going to be close or very close to the skin.
Is there any stippling on the wound?
Almost none.
There'd be stippling and tattooing around the entrance wound, a purplish and black discoloration of the skin, pinpoints of unburned powder in the flesh.
I don't see any way he could have shot himself.
Neither do I. Thank you.
Kenda's investigation has just taken a dramatic turn.
I don't believe Honey has told me the truth, period.
Kenda decides he needs to speak with Honey again, only this time, he isn't going to be so nice.
We've reached the point of this investigation where it's time to bring Honey into an interrogation room for a confrontation.
Honey, we've learned some things. And now I think it's time you start telling me the truth.
We explained to her that we have great difficulty with parts of her story.
What do you mean?
I mean the truth about what happened.
I did. I told you the truth the first time.
Her defense is rage. How dare you say that? Why don't you believe me? Even though we have told her that nothing she has said can be correct based on the physical evidence. It has no effect on her.
There's no way possible your boyfriend could have shot himself.
I don't know how many more times I can tell you. He killed himself. I didn't do it.
We then say, will you take a polygraph examination to establish your truthfulness? She agrees. I am not a fan of polygraphs, but I'm a huge fan of statements. And if that machine can elicit one, that works for me. We send her back to our polygraph examiner.
Hey, so how'd she do?
She failed miserably.
Really?
Yeah, she killed him.
And how do we know that's true?
Well, I confronted her and she confessed to everything.
Honey's confession to the polygrapher doesn't count as an official statement. It's up to Kenda to get her on the record.
We need to take a statement from her. So we do. But Honey is so determined, she still continues to lie.
We got home, just escalated, and we were fighting over the gun.
It's a physical impossibility for him to have shot himself in those circumstances. She did.
Though Honey equivocates, Kenda is able to piece together what really happened.
At the end of this story, Honey Downen was emotional, she was angry, she was jealous.
Sherry brought up all of your ex-girlfriends. Touch me!
Whoa!
I think what probably happened was They came home, the door closed, and she said, I don't like the fact that you had a girlfriend before me.
One thing just led to another, and the discussion turned into an argument, and the argument escalated.
I want to know all of their names. I will give you crazy. Yeah, start talking.
Really gonna shoot me?
I think the emotion takes over judgment and the trigger's pulled. It is the true emotional crime of passion. Even though she just put a bullet through him, she loves him. Her reaction after the shooting is not to drop the gun and run away. Her action after the shooting is to try to save his life. The law, unfortunately, doesn't care. Death is the concern. You are responsible.
That evening, a tearful Honey Downing is booked on murder charges. Her case goes to trial in a military court. She is found guilty of negligent homicide and receives 4 months in prison, plus a dishonorable discharge.
It left all of us shaking our heads. Things like that leave you just feeling as though justice was not done.
Donald Corbett had his whole life ahead of him. Now, Honey Dowden has to live with this.
One of the scariest things about this is they're in love. They just don't stay there. One of them decides to terminate the relationship in the worst possible way. Did anyone suspect that when things began? No one ever does.
The city never truly sleeps, it just learns how to whisper. And on a wet March night in 2008, New York is whispering through gutter water, through taxi tires hissing on blacktop, through the neon pulse of bodegas that keep their doors unlocked because fear is bad for business. And then, right when the streets seem to settle, one sound cuts through it all like a blade dragged across glass. A payphone ringing in an empty corridor of the Queensboro Plaza station, ringing and ringing, the kind of ring that makes no sense because nobody uses payphones anymore, not unless they don't want to be found. Not unless they want to speak from the shadows and vanish before the echo can catch up. And when the transit worker finally lifts the receiver, it's not a prank, not a drunk, not a kid. It's a voice that's clipped and dry and urgent. A voice that doesn't introduce itself, that doesn't breathe into the line, that doesn't ask how your night is going. It delivers a sentence like a verdict. There's a girl, there's blood, there's a bag, and it's not where you think. And then the line goes dead, and the dial tone is loud enough to feel like a siren in the skull. By sunrise the headlines haven't printed yet, but the panic has already begun moving through the boroughs like a cold front, because when a case starts with a call like that, the city recognizes the shape of it, the old shape, the shape that belongs to missing posters stapled to lamp poles and candlelight vigils on corners and detectives with coffee breath and no sleep. And in a 5th-floor walk-up off Roosevelt Avenue, a roommate is pounding on a bedroom door that won't open, calling a name that doesn't answer, and the silence on the other side is wrong, too thick, too final, like a room holding its breath for something it refuses to say. Her name is Lila Hart. 26. A junior producer at a small post house in Midtown that cuts commercials and music videos and the occasional indie film that never gets a distribution deal. The kind of job that keeps you in fluorescent rooms until midnight, the kind of job that teaches you to fix sound glitches and frame jumps and other people's mistakes, the kind of job that makes you believe you can control the chaos if you just trim the edges clean enough. Lila has that New York look, tired eyes, quick smile, a walk that says don't talk to me unless you have a reason. Her friends say she's careful. Her co-workers say she's sharp. Her mother in Buffalo says she's stubborn, the good kind, the kind that leaves home and doesn't come back because coming back feels like failure. Lila doesn't have enemies, not the obvious kind, not the kind that show up in a police report with a history of threats and broken windows. She has ex-boyfriends, sure, but nothing dramatic. She has rent to pay, subway delays to curse, a younger brother who texts her memes at 2 a.m. and asks if she's eating enough. She's normal. That's what makes it hit harder. New York expects darkness, but it hates randomness. It hates the idea that you can do everything right and still disappear. The first timeline is clean. Too clean. On Friday, March 14th, Lila clocks out at 9:43 p.m., caught on a security camera in a lobby mirror, hair pulled back, tote bag slung over one shoulder, phone pressed to her ear as she steps into the rain. She stops at a deli on 9th Avenue, receipt time-stamped 9:58 p.m., turkey wrap, seltzer, a pack of gum. She texts her roommate, running late. Save me a plate if you cook. At 10:21 p.m., her Metro card hits at 50th Street. Uptown bound. Then a transfer. Then Queens. Ordinary. Boring. The kind of routine you don't remember until you're forced to rewind it frame by frame and search for the moment the world tilts. At 11:06 p.m. her phone pings a tower near Jackson Heights. At 11:23 p.m., another ping, Queensboro Plaza. After that, nothing. No outgoing calls. No texts. No voicemail. Just a device that falls silent like a heart that suddenly forgets how to beat. Her roommate, Danny, waits. Midnight comes. 1 a.m. comes. The rain gets heavier. Danny sends a text, "You okay?" and watches it sit there, undelivered. At 2:12 a.m. she calls. Straight to voicemail. At 3 a.m. she calls again. Voicemail. At 4:30 a.m. she's in a hoodie and sneakers, riding the train back along Lila's route, scanning platforms, scanning faces, scanning trash bins like the city might have swallowed her whole and left a trace. There's nothing. No torn bag. No dropped phone. No body. Just commuters with headphones and a homeless man asleep across 3 seats, mouth open, unaware he's part of a crime scene that doesn't know it's a crime scene yet. And then that payphone rings. NYPD doesn't love anonymous calls, but it doesn't ignore them either. The transit worker reports it, a patrol car rolls, then another, and by 7:40 a.m. a pair of detectives from Queens Homicide are standing under the cold fluorescent lights of the station's service corridor, staring at a door marked authorized personnel only. Because the caller said corridor. The caller said empty. The caller said bag. They push the door open and the smell hits first. Metal and damp and something else that doesn't belong, something coppery, something alive turned wrong. They find a trash can lined with a black contractor bag. The bag is tied, neat knot, careful hands. Inside is a second bag. And inside that, a tote bag with a stitched logo, an editing house in Midtown. Lila's company. It's soaked through. There's blood. Enough to make the detectives look at each other without speaking, enough to make a rookie swallow hard and turn away, enough to transform a missing person case into a headline before the ink even touches paper. But there is no body. The tote bag holds a few items. A pack of gum, torn open. A subway map folded into a sharp square. A lipstick tube snapped in half. And a keychain, a small silver film reel with her initials engraved on the back. LH. It's the kind of trinket you buy in the Times Square tourist traps and laugh at later, the kind of thing that becomes sacred when it's all you have left. They lock the area down. They pull camera footage from the station. They canvass. They check dumpsters. They shake down the corridors and stairwells and maintenance rooms, searching for the rest of the story. And what they find is a gap, 3 cameras that should have covered the back staircase, 3 cameras that, by coincidence or design, were offline for maintenance during the exact window Lila would have passed through. New York loves coincidence. Criminals love it more. By noon the case has a name in the squad room, the kind detectives give to nightmares so they can talk about them without feeling them, Plaza bag. And the questions stack up fast. Why Queensboro Plaza? It's a transit knot, a place you pass through, not a destination. Why a service corridor? Why a contractor bag tied like a gift? Why leave the tote but not the phone? Why call from a payphone like it's 1993? The first working theory is simple and brutal, robbery gone bad. Lila gets off the train, someone sees a young woman alone, follows, demands her purse, she fights, there's blood, panic, disposal. Except robbery doesn't explain the neat knot. Robbery doesn't explain the missing cameras. Robbery doesn't explain a caller who knows where to direct police but not where the rest of her is. They interviewed Danny first. A long sit-down in a cramped kitchen that smells like instant ramen and wet laundry. Danny is shaking, but she's angry too, the kind of anger that shows up when terror has nowhere else to go. She says Lila never took that staircase. She always stayed in the crowds, always moved with commuters, never went into staff-only areas. Danny shows detectives Lila's social media messages, her calendar, her last search history, nothing. No secret meetup. No threats. No, if anything happens to me, note. Just normal life, clipped mid-sentence. They go to Lila's office. The post house is a warren of editing bays, soundproof booths, stale coffee, and stressed-out 20-somethings arguing over frame rates. Her boss is pale. Her co-workers talk over each other. One says Lila left early. Another says she didn't. Someone mentions a client who got heated that week, a guy with money and a temper who didn't like being told. No, the detectives take names. They take numbers. They take everyone's version of the last time they saw her alive, knowing memory is a liar that improves its story once it hears a siren. By day 2, the media arrives like vultures in raincoats. A local station runs the first teaser, young NYC producer vanishes, bloody bag found in subway. The phrase, cold case, isn't used yet, but you can feel it forming, the slow freeze that happens when a case refuses to warm into answers. The community starts doing what communities do when the official machinery feels too slow. They print flyers, they form search parties, they light candles in the cold and speak prayers into the exhaust of passing buses. The city watches, uneasy, because it recognizes itself in the victim. Lila could be anybody's sister, anybody's friend, anybody's co-worker who always says, "I'm fine," and means, "I'm tired." On day 3, the first lead drops like a stone. Lila's bank card is used at 1:19 a.m. the night she vanished, 2 charges, both declined, at an ATM in Long Island City, less than a mile from Queensboro Plaza. The ATM camera is grainy, but it catches a figure. Hood up. Hands in gloves. Tall, maybe male, maybe not. The face is turned away at the crucial moment, like the world itself refuses to cooperate. The figure looks over one shoulder, pauses, then walks off into the dark. No vehicle in sight. No accomplice visible. Just a shadow with a purpose. The declined charges matter. It means the person had the card, had the PIN, or was willing to try. It means Lila was either forced to give it up or tricked into surrendering it. It means the crime wasn't a spontaneous snatch and run. It had steps. It had an agenda. Then, a stranger detail surfaces, one that makes detectives sit up straighter, the kind of thing that sounds small until you feel how sharp its edges are. A witness comes forward, a delivery driver who works late and knows the station's back-in trances better than any commuter. He says around 11:30 p.m. he saw a woman who looked like Lila near the service door, not panicked, not running, but walking with someone. 2 people moving fast, close together. He couldn't hear their conversation over the train noise, but he remembers the posture. She was angled inward, shoulders tight, like she was cold or like she was being guided by an invisible hand. He remembers the other person's shoes, bright white sneakers, too clean for a rainy night. He remembers that because it looked wrong. He remembers that because it stuck. Detectives ask, "Did you see a face?" He says no. Hoodie. Capital head down. They ask, "Did she speak?" He says he thinks she said something once, a short word, maybe, wait, maybe, no, but it was swallowed by a train roaring in, brakes screaming, the city doing what it does best, making noise that hides everything. They go back to the footage. They run it frame by frame. They look for the sneakers. They look for a flicker of movement near the service door. And there it is, barely, a blur at the edge of the frame on a camera that still worked, a slice of white near the bottom, 2 shadows crossing into a dead zone the broken cameras should have covered. The moment is real and still useless, like seeing the outline of a monster through frosted glass. That night, the detectives put Lila's case on the board in the squad room. Photos. Timelines. Locations. Threads pinned with red lines that look like veins. And somewhere between Queensboro Plaza and Long Island City and a post house in Midtown, the case starts to feel less like a missing woman and more like a deliberate erasure. Someone didn't just take Lila. Someone edited her out, cut the footage, removed the frames, left only a bloody prop behind like a signature. And the phone call, the payphone call, hangs over everything like smoke. Because whoever made it wanted the police to find the bag. They wanted the blood. They wanted the shock. They wanted the story to begin. But they did not want it to end. Rain falls again that night, slower, heavier, like the city itself is replaying the moment it first heard that call. Queensboro Plaza still hums, trains clattering overhead, fluorescent bus mixing with the low murmur of night shift voices. Detectives return, retracing every inch, hoping the ground has changed its mind and wants to confess. It doesn't. The corridor is scrubbed clean, but ghosts linger, echoes of footsteps, the metallic ring of that payphone now silent, the smell of bleach fighting to erase something that refuses to be forgotten. Every sound feels amplified, every shadow stretched too long. Detective Marquez stands by the taped-off zone, eyes scanning the tiled wall. 15 years in homicide and still, this case feels wrong. You don't leave blood and walk away, he mutters. You leave it when you want to send a message. His partner, Ellis, flips open his notebook, glances at the sketches, bag, placement, angle of the spatter. You think she's dead? Marquez doesn't answer. He just stares at the phone, the one that rang from nowhere, and the empty space behind it where a camera used to be. Someone knew what they were doing. Back at the precinct, the evidence board grows heavier. Photographs of the tote, the lipstick, the keychain. A grainy still of the sneakers. The red threads look like veins pumping through a paper heart. A forensics tech slides in with lab reports, blood type confirmed O negative, rare match, the same as Lila's. No fingerprints. No DNA that doesn't belong to her. It's too clean, Ellis says, flipping the pages. You don't get this kind of clean unless you plan for it. The media machine kicks in. Local tabloids print her photo, the one with sunlight and a grin, the kind that feels like it belongs to someone who should have lived 1,000 more days. Missing producer vanishes in subway mystery. Talk shows whisper theories. The true crime blogs light up, hungry for details. Online sleuths build timelines out of conjecture, connecting Lila to everything from cult activity to a rumored underground film ring that recruits young editors and never lets them leave. Every comment section becomes an autopsy of strangers' fear. But one thread catches detectives' attention, a post on a private forum, timestamped 3 days before Lila disappeared. It reads, "If you find this, don't look at the cut scenes. They weren't meant to be seen." The username? RealGhost08. The IP trace leads to an internet cafe in Astoria, less than 10 blocks from Lila's apartment. The timestamp matches her lunch break. Coincidence, or a cry for help disguised as nonsense? They pull surveillance from the cafe. Lousy angles, overexposed lighting, everyone in hoodies and screens glowing like blue fire. Then, at 12:47 p.m., there she is, Lila. Hair tied back, fingers flying over the keyboard. She's alone. She finishes typing, looks around, hesitates. Then she deletes something. Stares at the monitor. Leaves. The post shouldn't exist, but someone restored it. Someone wanted it found. Marquez leans forward. Cut scenes, he says. Editing house. Post-production. You think she found something? Ellis nods. Maybe something she wasn't supposed to. They dig into the company servers, subpoenaing logs. What they find isn't much, just gaps, folders wiped clean, backups missing. Someone deleted entire projects. One name pops up repeatedly, Project Night Ward. No client listed. No metadata. Just timestamps that stop exactly 3 days before she vanished. The owner claims ignorance. It was a test reel, he insists. Client backed out. But his hands shake when he signs the paperwork, and his lawyer sweats through his collar. Detectives don't buy it. They cross-check emails, one stands out. A message sent from Lila's work account to herself, unsent, saved as draft. If anyone asks about Night Ward, say you don't remember. By week's end, the story begins mutating. Reporters swarm the editing house, cameras flashing, microphones stabbing questions. The owner shuts the doors, issues a statement about corporate confidentiality and ongoing cooperation. Online, theories multiply like bacteria. Snuff film. Government leak. Urban legend resurrected. Every version more twisted than the last. Meanwhile, Lila's family arrives from Buffalo, her mother, small and composed in her grief, her brother, pale with rage. They speak to reporters outside the precinct, begging for answers, holding a photo already weathered from handling. The mother's voice shakes only once. Someone knows. Please. Just tell us where she is. The sound of that plea echoes through every hallway in the building. Detectives hear it in their sleep. Days pass. Then weeks. The case cools, not cold yet, but chilling fast. Leads dry up. The forensics lab runs endless tests that come back inconclusive. The payphone prints no usable fingerprints. The ATM camera footage offers no new clues. And then, one afternoon in April, a janitor at the post house finds something wedged behind a filing cabinet, a micro SD card, labeled only with a Sharpie scrawl, Northwest_cut 02. The footage is short. 17 seconds. Grainy. Distorted audio. A dimly lit hallway, concrete walls, a single flickering bulb. A woman's voice, Lila's, breathing hard, saying something too soft to catch. A second voice, low, mechanical, layered through static, you shouldn't have looked. Then black. Every tech in the lab tries to trace its origin. Nothing. Metadata stripped. No embedded device info, no GPS, no timecode. It could have been filmed anywhere, or nowhere. But one detail stands out. In the final 2 frames, before the fade, a shape flickers on the wall behind her. Letters. A spray-painted tag. Echo 7. NYPD database search turns up nothing. Street taggers use Echo, but none match the number. The only hit, a decommissioned sound studio in Brooklyn once owned by a shell company called Echo 7 Productions. It folded in 2005. Empty since. Marquez drives out there with Ellis, wind rattling the chain-link fence as they step inside. The place smells of mold and dust and leftover electricity. Old reel cans line the shelves, labels peeling, promo reel, B-roll, test footage. They find a locked door at the back. The hinges give after one kick. Inside, an editing bay. Power still hooked up. A monitor humming faintly, frozen on a single frame of static. On the table sits a hard drive wrapped in plastic. No label. Just a sticky note, don't forget the ending. They take it back to the lab. Forensics pulls the files. It's a series of cuts, snippets from unrelated projects, random clips spliced together. But halfway through, the image shifts. A hallway. The same as in the micro SD footage. Lila again, this time clear. She's looking straight into the camera. Her face pale, eyes wide. If you're watching this, she says, it's already too late. Then static. No timestamp. No trace of who filmed it. The footage leaks, of course it does. Someone inside the department sells it. Within hours, it's online. Millions of views. Thousands of comments dissecting every pixel, every background hum, every reflection in her eyes. People swear they can see another figure behind her. Others claim the video is cursed, that watching it brings nightmares. The case spirals beyond law and into legend. But behind the hysteria, one clue surfaces. A sound analyst isolates the audio beneath the static. Faint. Repeating. A mechanical rhythm, clack-clack hiss. Subway brakes. Queensboro Plaza line. The recording wasn't made in some hidden dungeon. It was filmed right beneath the city, somewhere trains still run. And now, 15 years later, every cop who touched the case remembers that moment, the realization that maybe the city didn't swallow her. Maybe she never left it. Maybe she's still there, buried in the noise, somewhere between the rails, waiting for someone to listen. Because New York has its own kind of silence, the kind that isn't absence, but warning. The kind that holds its breath before the next train screams through the dark. And in that silence, the mystery of Lila Hart still pulses, one unanswered question looping through the static. What did she see in those cutscenes that was worth dying for? Static becomes a kind of religion in this city, the faithful leaning closer to screens at 3 in the morning, hunting for meaning in snowstorm pixels, and somewhere deep underground the trains keep screaming through the dark as if they are trying to drown out a name, as if steel on steel can erase what a human voice once said into a cheap microphone, and the detectives feel it too, the sick sensation that the city is not a backdrop in this case, it's an accomplice, it's the thing that can hide. A person in plain sight, it's the thing that can swallow evidence and cough up rumors, and after the Echo 7 studio and the hard drive and the leaked clip, the phones in Queens homicide don't ring like normal anymore, they ring like alarms, tip after tip after tip, every caller convinced they're holding the missing frame that will snap the story into focus, every whisper offering a different ending. The first wave is noise, psychics, conspiracy addicts, strangers who want to be part of something bigger than their own lives, people who swear they saw Lila on a bus in Jersey, on a ferry in Staten Island, in a hospital hallway, alive, crying, calling for help, and Marquez listens with his jaw clenched because hope is a drug and this city sells it in dirty little baggies. And then the second wave comes in sharper, uglier, the kind that makes his spine tighten, anonymous emails with subject lines like "you're looking in the wrong place," texts to the precinct tip line that read "stop digging," one voicemail that's nothing but a train braking hard and a single word whispered under it, too quiet to be sure you heard it, but it lands in the room like a cold coin, Night Ward. The case starts to bend. It stops being about where she went and becomes about what she stumbled into, and that shift is dangerous, because you can search a park, you can sweep a river, you can knock doors until your knuckles crack, but you can't easily search an idea, you can't interrogate an absence, you can't handcuff a secret that's already been traded and buried. Ellis pulls transit maps like a surgeon pulling x-rays. Queensboro Plaza isn't one station, it's layers, corridors, service doors, locked stairwells, emergency exits that MTA workers use to move through a maze commuters never see. There are maintenance tunnels that run parallel to the tracks. There are ventilation shafts. There are storage rooms with rusted shelves. There are old conduits from older eras of the subway, sealed spaces that still breathe. If a recording caught the sound of those breaks, if Lila's face was framed by that underground hum, then she wasn't taken away from the transit system, she was taken into it. They request access. They get the usual resistance, paperwork, liability, MTA bureaucracy that moves like molasses in January. But public pressure helps. Cameras on the courthouse steps, tabloids screaming about subway horror, the kind of story that terrifies voters into demanding action. A week later they're walking into a maintenance entrance with an MTA supervisor whose eyes say he's seen too much and doesn't want to see more. The door clanks shut behind them. Light dies. The air changes. It tastes like dust and hot metal and damp concrete. Down there, New York feels ancient. The walls are stained with decades. There are old posters half glued to bricks like the ghosts of ads. There are puddles that reflect headlamps into broken mirrors. Every footstep echoes too far. You don't talk much. You listen. You listen for the drip of water, for the distant thunder of trains, for anything that sounds like a breath that shouldn't be there. They find nothing at first. Just tunnels. Locked doors. Dead ends. But Ellis keeps stopping, looking at the walls. Tags everywhere, layers of paint, street names, crew marks, childish drawings, and then, half hidden behind a metal cabinet, they see it again, sprayed in thick black letters, Echo 7. Fresh enough that it hasn't fully dulled. The paint still has that oily shine. It's not a coincidence. It's not a myth. Somebody is marking territory under the city. The MTA supervisor pretends he doesn't notice. That alone is a clue. Marquez leans in, flashlight catching the texture of the spray. Beneath the Echo 7 tag is another mark, smaller, scratched into the concrete with something sharp, a film reel symbol, identical to the one on Lila's keychain, except this one is crude, angry, like a warning carved into a cell wall. It hits him in the gut, because symbols aren't just decoration, they're language, and in this case the language keeps circling back to film, to editing, to cuts, to scenes that aren't meant to be seen. Up above, they start looking at people who could speak that language. The post house owner goes from pale to hostile. His attorney shows up for every question. He insists Project Night Ward was a nothing job. He insists Lila wasn't special. He insists the micro SD card must be a prank. But he can't explain why company backups were wiped, why his server logs are full of manual deletions at 2 a.m., why his own assistant remembers him storming through the office days before Lila vanished, barking at someone on the phone, saying, "No, it won't leak. It's contained." Contained. Like a toxin in a jar. They dig into Night Ward's paper trail and find the kind of mess that makes a detective's skin itch: shell companies, rented P.O. boxes, payments routed through third parties. The money came in clean, the work went out invisible. Someone wanted content made without leaving fingerprints. Someone wanted professionals, not amateurs. Someone like Lila, who could stitch chaos into a seamless story. A name surfaces through a cracked window of paperwork: Gideon Rusk. A creative consultant. Formerly associated with a boutique studio in Brooklyn that shut down after a lawsuit nobody wants to describe on record. His online presence is scrubbed, but not perfectly. There are old articles calling him visionary, provocative, boundary pushing. There are whispers of parties where cameras don't stop rolling. There's a photo of him outside a gallery, arm around a woman who isn't smiling. His eyes in that photo are flat. Not cruel. Worse. Indifferent. They bring him in. He arrives in a tailored coat, calm as a man walking into a meeting, not an interrogation. He doesn't ask for water. He doesn't blink much. He says he doesn't know Lila, but when Ellis slides her photo across the table his gaze flickers, 1 second, one involuntary tell, like a memory biting the inside of his cheek. He recovers fast. Tragic, he says. New York is full of tragedies. Marquez watches him, thinking of the neat knot on that contractor bag, thinking of someone who likes things tidy, who likes stories with controlled beats. They ask about Echo 7 Productions. He smiles. You did your homework. He claims it was a name he floated years ago for an audiovisual collective. Claims it never went anywhere. Claims lots of artists recycle names. Claims he hasn't been near Queensboro Plaza in years. He answers like he's reading from a script, pauses exactly where a pause should be, gives just enough detail to feel cooperative. It's a performance. And Marquez hates performances more than lies, because performances are lies with polish. They can't hold him. Not yet. Not without something that sticks. Then another piece drops, not from the lab, not from paperwork, but from the human messiness of the city. A waitress at a bar near the old Echo 7 studio calls in, voice shaking, says she recognizes him, says he came in weeks ago, late night, paid in cash, and asked a strange question while he stared at the TV news about Lila, asked if the subway had quiet rooms, asked if there were places down there people forget. She thought it was creepy. She didn't say anything because in New York creepy is background noise. But now she's saying it, and now it's fuel. Still not enough. Still smoke without fire. The case takes another twist when Internal Affairs quietly knocks on Marquez's door. Not in a dramatic raid, not with sirens, but with that careful, polite tone that says the threat is inside the building. They show him transcripts. They show him call logs. They show him the leak, how the video got out, how someone accessed evidence storage after hours and copied the file. We think somebody's feeding information, the IA lieutenant says. Maybe for money. Maybe for influence. Maybe because they are scared. Marquez feels a pulse of rage, because if someone inside is compromised, the killer isn't just out there. The killer has hands in the system, fingers on the scale, eyes on the investigation. And then the most chilling part, the leak didn't just expose Lila to the internet. It exposed the detectives' moves to whoever's watching. After that, tips change. They don't come from anxious citizens anymore. They come like taunts. A package arrives at the precinct addressed to Lila Hart, returned to sender. Inside is a DVD in a paper sleeve, no note. Just a disc labeled with a marker, cut 03. The techs are terrified to even insert it. They scan it. Air gap computer. Gloves. Chain of custody like it's a bomb. The video opens on darkness, then flickers into a cramped space, a single bulb swinging, and there's the sound again, train brakes, close, so close you feel the vibration in your teeth. Lila is in frame for only a moment. Hair loose now, wet, face bruised. She looks at the camera with a kind of fierce clarity that makes your stomach drop because it means she understands the situation, understands the rules of the nightmare she's in. Her lips move. The audio stutters. But one line comes through clean, like it's been sharpened for maximum impact. He records everything. Then the video cuts, not fades, not transitions, cuts hard to black. On the black screen, white text appears for 3 seconds, like a title card, echo, 7 presents. The room goes silent. Even the fluorescent lights feel louder. Because that isn't a random message. That's branding. That's someone treating a human disappearance like content, like a production, like a sick little franchise, and the detectives realize the case isn't just unsolved, it's being curated. Every clue, every drop, every artifact is being released on someone else's timeline, as if the real power here isn't the knife or the fist or the hidden room, but the edit. The control of what the world sees, when it sees it, how it reacts. They race back underground with the new audio analysis, triangulating the break sound. The MTA supervisor suddenly stops cooperating. Says the search has gone too far. Says they are disrupting operations. Says they need new warrants for deeper access. His tone is defensive. His eyes won't meet theirs. Ellis presses him. What aren't you telling us? The supervisor swallows. You don't understand, he says quietly. There are people down there you don't mess with. He tries to laugh it off. It doesn't land. It's not like the movies, he adds, and Marquez almost snaps, because that's exactly what it's starting to feel like, someone making it like the movies on purpose. They keep pushing anyway. Through another door. Down a ladder. Into a narrower passage where the air is warmer, where cables run like veins along the walls. The tag appears again. Echo, 7. And beneath it, a new symbol painted in red, a film reel, dripping. A train roars past somewhere beyond the wall, so close the dust jumps from the ceiling. In that roar, for the briefest second, Marquez hears something else, faint, human, a sound that could be a distant shout or could be his own mind screaming. He freezes. Ellis hears it too. They both look at the dark ahead, flashlights trembling, and in that moment the city feels like a throat, and they are standing inside it, and the question isn't just where Lila is, it's how many other stories were edited out down here before anyone noticed. When they finally surface, covered in grime, the sky has already shifted into that bruised purple of early morning. The street looks normal. People walk dogs. Coffee carts open. Life goes on like it always does, because the city doesn't pause for grief. But Marquez can't shake the feeling that they just stepped out of a room where someone is still watching them, still cutting together the next scene. And in the precinct, waiting on his desk, is a single sheet of paper with no envelope, like it was placed there by a hand that didn't need permission. On it is a line typed in plain, business-like font: if you want her, stop following the threads, start following the cuts. No signature. No fingerprint. No fear. Just a director's note. The note sits on Marquez's desk like a dead insect pinned to cork, ordinary paper, ordinary font, but it changes the oxygen in the room, because it isn't a threat in the classic sense, no blood-red letters, no skulls, no, I'm watching you, it's worse, it's confident, it's clinical, it assumes you will play along, and Marquez reads it once, then again, then he turns it over as if the backside might reveal a fingerprint or a smudge of panic, but it's blank, clean, untouched, like it materialized. Out of thin air, and in the fluorescent glare he feels the smallest, ugliest truth press into his ribs. Whoever is cutting this story is close enough to walk into a homicide precinct and leave instructions like a producer dropping notes on an editor's timeline. Ellis doesn't speak when he sees it. He just takes the paper, holds it up to the light, looks at the fibers, the edges, the ink density. No envelope, he says finally. So it's either dropped off at the front desk, or he doesn't finish, because finishing means saying the other thing out loud, someone inside. Someone with access. Someone who can glide through hallways without being stopped. Marquez watches the bullpen, the detectives leaning over desks, the uniforms laughing too loud at a joke that isn't funny, the civilian staffers moving files, and he tries to imagine which one of them is a hole in the boat quietly letting water in, and the thought makes him nauseous, because this case already has enough darkness without adding betrayal. Stop following the threads, start following the cuts. Threads are suspects, motives, routes, phone pings, the usual web, and they've been pulling at those threads until their fingers bleed. Cuts are different. Cuts are decisions. Cuts are where something is removed. Cuts are where time jumps. Cuts are where reality is rearranged to hide what happened in the gap. If the killer is speaking in the language of editing, then the evidence isn't just in what's shown. It's in what's missing. Ellis brings in a consultant the next day, not an NYPD shrink, not an FBI profiler, but a post-production veteran named Soto, gray hair, nicotine fingers, eyes that have watched a million frames. He's the kind of man who can tell you what camera a shot was filmed on by the way the highlights roll off a cheekbone. They show him the leaked hallway clip, the DVD labeled Cut 03, the micro-SD footage, the hard drive pull from the abandoned studio. Soto watches without blinking. When it ends, he doesn't look horrified. He looks offended, like someone served him a bad drink. This isn't random, he says. It's constructed. See the jitter before the cut? That's not corruption. That's added. Artificial. Like a stutter to make you feel unstable. And the black frames? Those aren't empty. Those are intentional beats. Whoever did this understands pacing. Marquez asks the obvious question, the one that tastes like bile. Can you tell where it was shot? Soto shakes his head, then pauses, leans closer, rewinds, plays a half-second again. Not where, he says. But I can tell you how. Those cuts land on something. Like a metronome. It's not just edited. It's timed. Time to what? Time to trains. Time to break cycles. Time to something mechanical and regular, a rhythm you can hide inside. Ellis pulls the audio files back up, overlays them, runs the waveforms. The break hiss repeats at intervals that line up too neatly to be coincidence. It's like the recordings were made at a location where the sound pattern is consistent, predictable, like a station where trains approach and depart on a reliable schedule, where the acoustics bounce in a particular way off concrete. Soto points to the screen. You hear that after the hiss? That little flutter. He taps the waveform like he's tapping a heartbeat. That's a fan, maybe. A ventilation system. And that tone under everything, that hum? That's electrical. High tension. Old wiring. You're not in a fancy new tunnel. You're in something older. Older means abandoned passages, dead platforms, the forgotten parts of the transit system that only maintenance crews and urban explorers talk about. The city has bones. Everyone rides its muscles. Almost nobody thinks about the bones. Marquez goes back to the beginning, to Queensboro Plaza, to the service corridor, to the cameras that were conveniently offline. He asks for maintenance logs again, not through polite channels, through pressure, through the kind of phone calls that make people sweat. The logs arrive incomplete, pages missing, signatures that don't match. But one name appears in a margin, handwritten like an afterthought, V. Kessler. They search the MTA employee database. Vincent Kessler, station systems technician. Suspended in 2006 after an internal investigation into unauthorized access. Reinstated in 2007. The file is thin in the places that matter. Marquez wants to ask why. He already knows the answer, because thin files are how you bury things without burying them. They find Kessler in a bar in Woodside, nursing a beer like it's the only honest thing in his life. His mid-40s, unshaven, eyes that dart, hands that won't stop moving. When Marquez says, Queensboro Plaza, Kessler's throat jumps. When Ellis says, Echo, 7, Kessler's face drains. He tries to laugh. It comes out like a cough. I don't know what you're talking about, Kessler says, but his knee is already bouncing under the table like it's trying to escape. Marquez doesn't push like a bull. He pushes like a blade. You were on the maintenance roster the night the cameras went down, he says softly. You were reinstated after an investigation that went quiet. And a woman disappeared through a blind spot you helped create. Kessler grips his beer so hard his knuckles turn pale. You think I did that? He snaps, and his voice cracks, and then he leans in, lower, frantic. You don't get it. Those cameras weren't down because of me. They were down because somebody told me to take them down. Who? Kessler's eyes flick toward the bar's TV, then back, as if expecting to see his own face on the news. People, he says. Not one guy. A group. They come with paperwork. They come with authority. They come with money. They say it's a test. They say it's a drill. They say it's a security audit. They tell you to sign. They tell you to look away. Ellis slides a photo of Gideon Rusk across the table. Kessler flinches like he's been slapped. He doesn't say the name. He doesn't have to. Where, Marquez says. One word. Heavy. Final. Kessler swallows. There are old spaces, he whispers. Platform-level stuff that's been sealed for decades. It's not on public maps. Some of it's behind locked doors you'd need a master key for. Some of it, he closes his eyes, exhales. Some of it connects. Connects. That's the key word. Because the subway isn't just lines on a tourist map. Under New York, everything touches everything else if you know the right doors. A person can move unseen if they understand the skeleton. Kessler's hands shake now. I didn't hurt anyone, he says. I did what they told me. And then I heard about the girl. And then I heard, he stops. Heard what? Ellis presses. Kessler stares at the beer like it's going to answer for him. Heard they call it night ward, he says, barely audible. Like a night shift. Like a ward in a hospital. Like a place you don't leave. Marquez feels his pulse hit his throat. Where is it? Kessler laughs once, sharp and bitter. If I knew that, he says, I'd be dead. And then he does something that chills them both. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small object wrapped in tissue paper like a relic, like contraband. He sets it on the table with trembling fingers. It's a badge. Not NYPD. Not MTA. A laminated card, faded. Echo 7 Productions, access credential. A photo of Kessler younger, cleaner. Under it, systems support. Ellis's voice is flat. You worked for them. Kessler's eyes fill, but he doesn't cry. I fixed doors, he says. I fixed cameras. I fixed power. That's what I do. I fix. And they paid. Cash. Always cash. Marquez asks the question that's been stabbing at the case from the start. Why film it? Kessler's jaw tightens. It wasn't always like that, he says. At first it was just art people. Weirdos. Underground screenings. Private shows. They liked the subway because it felt, he searches for the word. Forbidden. Like a secret club. Then something changed. A new guy came in. A guy who wanted it darker. He said audiences were numb. He said fear was the only real emotion left. Marquez keeps his voice steady. Lila. Kessler shuts his eyes, nods once, like an apology. She wasn't supposed to be part of it, he whispers. She wasn't a performer. She was staff. Post. Like you said. She saw something. She tried to back out. And they don't let people back out. Ellis feels the room tightening around him. Then why the messages, he says. Why the bag? Why the DVDs? Why call us? Kessler's eyes open, wild. Because he likes it, he says. He likes the chase. He likes the edit. He thinks he's making you part of the story. He thinks you're the audience. And if you're the audience, you can't look away. A cold wind slides through the bar door as someone enters, and Kessler jerks like a startled animal. He grabs the credential back, shoves it into his jacket. I shouldn't have shown you that, he mutters. I shouldn't have said anything. Marquez's voice drops lower. Help us, Vincent. Help her. Kessler stares at him, and for a second there's something like surrender, something like a man deciding whether to jump off a ledge or keep living on it. There's a door, he says, fast, before he can change his mind. It's not on the roster. It's behind a utility closet at Queensboro Plaza, third stairwell down, the one with the rusted handle. There's a panel. Behind the panel is a switch. If you flip it, the lock disengages for 30 seconds. 30. After that it resets. Ellis's pen scratches. And what's behind it? Kessler's mouth works like he's chewing broken glass. A passage, he says. A service run. Leads to older tunnels. If you keep going, there's a room. A room. The word lands like a gunshot. Marquez doesn't ask him to come with them. He knows Kessler won't. He also knows something else, now that Kessler has spoken, is a dead man walking unless they move. And when they stand to leave, Kessler grabs Marquez's sleeve with a grip that's desperate and sharp. If you go down there, he says, don't go with uniforms. Don't go with sirens. Don't go loud. He'll hear you. He always hears you. He's got people. And if you see cameras, he swallows. If you see cameras, you're already in frame. The next night, they go back to Queensboro Plaza without announcing it to anyone outside a tight circle. No radio chatter. No paperwork trail. They bring 2 trusted detectives and a locksmith who owes Marquez a favor. They enter through a maintenance access at 2:17 a.m., when the city is at its thinnest. The station's fluorescent lights bleach the world into sickly color. Far above, trains still run, but slower, fewer, like the city is breathing in shallow sips. They find the utility closet. Rusted handle. Just like Kessler said. Inside is a mess of cleaning supplies and old signage. Behind it, a metal panel bolted to the wall. The locksmith removes it. Wires. A switch. Ellis counts under his breath, like he's about to cut a bomb. Marquez flips the switch. Somewhere inside the wall, a lock clicks. 30 seconds. They move. A door that looked like part of the wall shifts under pressure. It opens into darkness that smells like wet stone and old electricity. They slip through. The door swings shut behind them with a soft, final sound that makes the hairs on Marquez's arms rise. His flashlight beam cuts forward, revealing a narrow service passage with peeling paint and cables like veins. The air is warmer down here. He can hear the distant rush of trains through the concrete, that same breathy thunder threaded through the recordings. They walk fast but quiet. Every step echoes. Every echo feels like it could be heard by someone waiting just beyond the light. The passage slopes downward, then levels out. They pass another tag, Echo 7. Then another. Then the dripping film reel symbol in red. They reach an intersection, a split in the tunnel. Ellis checks his notes. Kessler didn't mention a split. That's when Marquez feels it, a pressure change, like walking into a space that has been inhabited recently. The air is not stale here. It's disturbed. He raises his flashlight and the beam catches something that makes his stomach drop. A camera. Mounted high. Small. Modern. Its lens points straight at them, a black eye unblinking in the dark. And next to it, a second camera. And a third. They are not just searching a tunnel anymore. They are walking into a set. Ellis swears under his breath. One of the detectives reaches for his radio, then stops. Kessler's warning flashes through Marquez's mind: if you see cameras, you're already in frame. That means somewhere, someone is watching them right now. Somewhere, someone is smiling. Somewhere, someone is deciding whether this scene is suspense or slaughter. Marquez forces himself to keep moving. He refuses to give whoever's watching the satisfaction of seeing fear break him. They follow the left passage, because the right smells faintly of chemicals, sharp and clean, like bleach, like someone trying to erase what they do. The tunnel narrows. The sound of trains grows louder. The walls begin to vibrate with each passing car, a living pulse under concrete skin. Then the light catches a smear on the floor. Dark. Dried. Not oil. Not rust. Blood. Fresh enough to still have a sheen. They freeze. The air thickens. The passage ahead bends slightly, and beyond the bend there's a glow, soft, flickering, unnatural in a place like this. Like a monitor. Like a screen. Marquez steps forward, one breath at a time. He rounds the corner, flashlight up, heart hammering against bone, and what he sees is not a body, not a victim, not a killer. It's a small room carved out of old infrastructure, walls lined with cables, and on a table, facing them like an altar, 3 monitors playing a live feed. Their live feed. On the middle screen, the 4 of them stand in the tunnel, frozen, looking at the cameras. On the screen's edge, a timecode ticks in the corner, clean and professional, the kind used in editing suites. And beneath the live image, white text appears in the same plain font as the note on Marquez's desk. Welcome back, detective. And in the reflection of that monitor's glass, for a fraction of a second, Marquez sees a shape behind them that is not one of his team, just a silhouette, close, too close, and then the lights in the tunnel snap off all at once, plunging them into pitch black, and somewhere in that sudden darkness, a voice speaks, calm and amused, as if whispering into a microphone in a studio booth. Let's see what you do with this cut. Darkness hits like a physical blow, the kind that steals your balance and makes you suddenly aware of how loud your own breathing is, and in that split second the tunnel stops being a place you're searching and becomes a mouth closing around you, and Marquez feels his flashlight in his hand like a useless talisman, clicks it once, twice, nothing, the beam dead, batteries fine, which means someone killed the power from somewhere else, which means the person watching them is not just watching. They're running the room like a control booth, and that calm voice, smooth, amused, too close to a microphone, floats through the black as if it's inside their skulls. Let's see what you do with this cut, and the word cut lands heavier than any threat because it isn't about violence alone, it's about control, it's about the moment between frames when the truth can be removed and replaced. Ellis whispers Marquez's name, not loud, just enough to locate a human in the void, and someone bumps his shoulder, the team tightening into a cluster because spacing out in darkness is how you die. Marquez hears a faint mechanical whir, like a fan spooling up, and then a thin strip of light snaps on across the floor, not from their gear, from a line of LEDs embedded low in the wall, the kind used on sets to guide movement, the kind that says follow the mark, and the strip isn't steady, it pulses, on-off on, like a heartbeat, pulling them forward with the sick logic of a game that has already been designed. He doesn't want to move. Moving means obeying. But standing still means being predictable. He swallows, tastes metal, forces his voice into steadiness. NYPD, he calls into the dark, knowing it's absurd, knowing nobody down here respects a badge. Show yourself. A chuckle answers him, soft, intimate, the laugh of someone who knows the ending. You already did, the voice says, and the lead strip flares brighter for a second, illuminating the tunnel walls in harsh slices, damp concrete, cables, the echo, 7 tag smeared like a wound, and above the pulsing line, a red arrow painted crudely, pointing deeper. They move because they have to. because the case has been dragging them under this city for weeks, and now the city has finally opened a door and is daring them to step through. Marquez keeps one hand on the wall, feeling the grit, the vibration of trains above, using touch as a compass when sight is unreliable. The LEDs lead them around a bend, down a slight incline, and the air changes again, warmer, carrying the faint smell of plastic and hot circuitry, like a server room, like an editing bay hidden inside the belly of New York. The passage widens into a space that used to be something official, an old maintenance junction, maybe, a forgotten platform stub, and now it's been repurposed with unsettling care. There are power cables running neatly along the floor, taped down like someone's worried about tripping hazards. There's a folding table set up against the wall, holding equipment cases. A cheap swivel chair sits in front of a monitor that's still glowing, its screen filled with a frozen frame of their own faces in darkness, the time code ticking even when the image is still, because time always ticks, even when you want it to stop. Ellis steps forward, gun up now, no more pretending this is a search. The monitor flickers, and the frozen frame dissolves into a new image, a hallway, that same concrete hallway, the flickering bulb, the sound of trains breathing. Lila's face fills the screen, bruised, wet, eyes too bright. She looks directly into the lens like she's staring through it, like she's looking at them. Her lips move. The audio is cleaner than before. Not studio clean, but deliberate, curated. I can hear them when they edit, she says, voice thin and hoarse, and Marquez feels something inside him lurch, because hearing her speak is like having the dead call your name from a payphone. I can hear the cuts. The silence is a knife. If you found this, don't trust the version they show you. Don't. The video snaps to black mid-word. No fade. No mercy. A title card appears, stark white on black, you're late. Ellis curses, steps closer, tries the keyboard on the table, tries to yank a cable, but the setup is built like a trap, everything hard-mounted, locked, tamper-resistant. Someone anticipated panic. Someone planned for cops to react like cops. Marquez feels rage climbing his throat, the urge to smash the screen, to break anything that looks like control, but he forces it down. We're being baited, he says, low. Don't give him the reaction he wants. Then what? One of the detectives snaps, and her voice breaks on the edge of fear, because it's one thing to chase a ghost through paperwork and tunnels, it's another thing to stand in front of the ghost's altar and watch the victim speak from inside it. A door clicks somewhere behind them, a small sound, almost polite. Marquez spins, gun up, heart punching. A thin sliver of light shows under a metal door at the back of the junction, a door they hadn't seen until now because darkness hides architecture the way lies hide motives. The LEDs on the wall pulse faster, like the place is getting excited. Don't, Ellis says, but Marquez is already moving because that door is the only real thing in this room of screens. It's physical. It's a direction. It's a possibility that Lila might be behind it, or evidence, or the person who keeps talking into their ears like he owns the soundtrack. He reaches the door, feels the cold metal, tries the handle. Locked? No keypad. No visible lock. Just smooth steel and a small square panel beside it with a single button, unmarked. A stage cue. Marquez stares at it. Buttons are choices. Buttons are edits. Pressing it means you accept the next scene. He hears that voice again, closer now, like it's coming from a speaker hidden in the wall just above his shoulder. If you want to keep watching, it murmurs, press play. He wants to spit. Instead he presses, because the alternative is leaving, and leaving is what the killer has been counting on since the first payphone rang. The button gives with a soft click. A mechanical whine. The lock disengages with a heavy thunk, and the door swings inward, releasing a breath of air that smells wrong, stale, chemical, like cleaning products and something older underneath, something organic that's been trapped too long. The room beyond is narrow and lined with acoustic foam, black wedges that swallow sound, a sound-dampened corridor like the throat of a recording studio. The LEDs continue inside, guiding them like runway lights. Marquez steps in, and his footsteps don't echo anymore. That absence of echo is terrifying. Echo means space. Echo means you can be heard. Silence means you can be taken without anyone noticing. He gestures for the team to follow, and they file in, guns raised, breathing controlled, as if discipline can protect them from a place designed to erase discipline. Halfway down the corridor, a speaker crackles, and the voice drops the playful tone. It becomes intimate, almost conversational. I expected more, it says. I expected uniforms. I expected a parade. I expected the city's big blue heartbeat thumping down my hall. But you came quiet. A pause. Smart. Boring. But smart. Ellis doesn't respond. He knows answering gives the voice power. The voice continues anyway, because it doesn't need their permission. You think you're hunting me, it says. You think you're the editors now, trimming the fat, tightening the plot. But you're still just footage. Raw. Unshaped. Marquez's jaw tightens. He sees a door at the end of the corridor, this one with a window cut into it. The window is covered from the inside by a sheet of frosted plastic. Light glows behind it, soft and steady, the kind of light that belongs to a controlled environment, not a tunnel. He approaches slowly, listening for breathing, for movement, for any clue that there's a human heartbeat on the other side. He peels the door open. The room beyond is small, almost clean, almost clinical. A single chair bolted to the floor. A camera mounted in the corner, red light on. A microphone hanging from the ceiling, swinging slightly, like something just brushed past it. And on the far wall, a monitor playing a looping video of Lila's face in close-up, her eyes open, unblinking, staring out into endless repetition. The loop lasts 12 seconds. She doesn't speak. She just looks, and the look is what kills you, because it's the look of someone trying to communicate something beyond words. Marquez steps inside and immediately feels the trap closing. Not physically, psychologically. This room is meant to make you feel like you're in a confession booth. A place to perform. A place where the only thing that matters is what gets recorded. Ellis follows him in, scans the corners. No one, he whispers. Then the speaker crackles again, and the voice becomes colder. She's not here, it says, and Marquez hates the way it anticipates his disappointment, hates the way it enjoys denying him. But she was. She sat right there. The voice pauses, as if savoring the detail. She asked the same questions you're asking. She cried in the same places. She tried to bargain. She tried to lie. She tried to be brave. Marquez's grip tightens until his knuckles ache. Where is she, he says, and it comes out rougher than he intended, and he feels the room react, because the camera's red light flickers, the microphone sways, like the system just registered his line of dialogue. The voice laughs softly. Better, it says. There you are. Now we're making something. Ellis steps forward, points his gun at the ceiling speaker like he can shoot sound. You want attention, he barks. You want to be seen? We can do that. We can put your face everywhere. A beat of silence, then the voice answers, calm. You still don't understand, it says. Being seen isn't the fear. Being seen is the reward. The fear is being misseen. Being turned into a story you can't control. Marquez's eyes flick to the chair. There are marks on the metal, tiny scratches, like fingernails. There's a faint smear on the floor near the bolts, dark and old. He kneels, touches it with a gloved fingertip. Dried blood. Not a lot. Enough. Ellis is scanning the walls. There has to be another door, he mutters, and he's right, because this room feels like an antechamber, not an end. The killer didn't build a set just to show them an empty chair. There's always a next scene. Marquez notices the foam paneling on the left wall isn't aligned perfectly. One panel sits half an inch higher than the others, a mistake no real sound engineer would make, unless it's a deliberate flaw meant to be found by someone paying attention. He presses against it. It gives. Behind it is a recessed handle. He pulls. A hidden door swings open, revealing a tight stairwell descending into black. The LEDs below pulse like a heartbeat speeding up. Ellis grabs Marquez's arm. This is exactly what he wants, he hisses. Marquez knows. He knows they are walking deeper into the edit bay of a predator. He knows every step is another line in a script someone else wrote. But he also knows something else. Lila's message wasn't just despair. It was instruction. Don't trust the version they show you. Meaning the truth is in the gaps. Meaning you have to go where the cuts happen. He starts down the stairs. The air below is colder, damper. The hum of electricity grows louder, layered with something new, low-frequency bass, like subwoofers, like the rumble of trains amplified, engineered. The stairwell opens into a larger space, and the moment Marquez steps onto the floor, the lights flick on in sections, not all at once, but in a sequence, like stage lighting cueing a reveal. It's a studio. Not a Hollywood studio, not a polished one, but a working production space wedged under the city, racks of equipment, cameras on tripods, rolling carts with cables, a mixing board covered in fingerprints, a wall of monitors showing different angles of tunnels and corridors and stairwells, all live feeds, all watched, all ready. On one table sits a stack of DVDs in paper sleeves, each labeled with a marker, Cut 01, Cut 02, Cut 03, and then, farther down, higher numbers, Cut 12, Cut 19, Cut 27, like episodes in a season nobody asked for. And on the far wall, painted in huge black letters over bare concrete, is a slogan that makes Marquez's stomach turn, because it's not just a threat, it's a philosophy. Reality is better in post. Ellis stares at it, jaw slack for a fraction of a second before he snaps back into motion, sweeping his gun across the room. Clear, one detective whispers, then another, voices tight. No one in sight. No human body. Just the evidence of human obsession, the machinery of capture, the infrastructure of manipulation. Marquez steps closer to the mixing board, and his eyes catch a detail that makes the room tilt. A small sticky note stuck to the board's edge, the kind editors use to mark a change, a reminder. On it, in plain handwriting, Heart, take 4, use if detectives arrive. His throat tightens. Take 4, he says aloud, and the word feels obscene, as if her suffering has been catalogued like alternate angles. A monitor on the wall beeps. One of the live feeds switches automatically, as if triggered by their presence. The screen shows Queensboro Plaza above them, the same corridor where the bloody tote bag was found, empty now, fluorescent lit, a janitor pushing a mop bucket in the distance. Then text overlays the image, white and clean, like subtitle graphics. You're downstairs. She's upstairs. Choose your cut. Marquez's blood runs cold. It's a puzzle. A trap with 2 doors. A choice engineered to split them, to make them abandon safety, to make them decide between chasing the story and saving the person. And it hits him with brutal clarity, the killer doesn't just want to evade capture. He wants to direct them. He wants to watch them fail. He wants to make them complicit in the edit. Ellis steps closer to the monitor, voice low, urgent. He's lying, he says, but his eyes betray him, because what if he isn't? What if Lila is close? What if they've been under her the whole time, separated by nothing but concrete and a locked door? What if the next decision is the one that turns her from missing into dead? Marquez looks at the wall of screens again, at the live feeds, at the angles. And on one of them, just one, he sees something that makes his heart stop, a corner of a room they haven't entered yet, lit by a single bulb, and in that corner, a hand hangs limp into frame, pale, bruised, fingers twitching once like a dying signal. He doesn't wait for Ellis to speak. He doesn't wait for logic. He doesn't wait for warrants or backup or the sun. He points at the screen and his voice comes out like a command and a prayer in one breath. Go. Now. The command leaves Marquez's mouth and the room seems to inhale with him, as if the cameras, the monitors, the cables all tighten their grip on the moment, and suddenly every second feels pre-written, every heartbeat timed to a metronome only the watcher can hear, and Ellis is already moving, barking silent signals with his hands, splitting the team not because it's smart but because the choice has been forced, because a limp hand twitching on a live feed is not an image you debate, it's an Emergency that burns the debate out of you, and they surge through the equipment bay like a raid team in a nightmare film, weaving between tripods and rolling carts, stepping over neatly taped cables that feel like traps even when they aren't, following the feed's angle, matching it to the physical geometry of the space the way editors match B-roll to continuity, hunting the unseen door that will make the shot real. Marquez's eyes flick from screen to wall, screen to ceiling, looking for the tell, an unaligned foam panel, a seam, a vent that's too new, a hinge that doesn't belong, and he finds it behind a rack of gear, a steel door disguised with black drape, like stage dressing meant to hide the mechanics, and when he yanks it open the air that comes out is colder, sharper, carrying a faint tang of disinfectant, and the LEDs along the threshold pulse once, like a wink, as if the system is pleased he's solved the clue, and that thought makes his stomach turn because solving clues shouldn't feel like pleasing the person who made them. They push through into a narrow corridor that slopes upward, and the sound changes immediately, less electrical hum, more distant train thunder, closer now, reverberating through walls like a heart you can't shut off, and somewhere ahead a speaker crackles softly, not with words, just with a low hiss, as if the voice is leaning in, listening to them breathe, and Ellis keeps his gun raised, jaw clenched so hard it looks painful, because the worst part is not the darkness or the tunnels, it's the certainty that every angle is being watched, that their panic is being framed and stored and possibly even broadcast. The corridor forks again, because of course it does, because forks make choices and choices make drama, and above each branch, stenciled in white paint like production labels, are two words that feel like a slap, ACAM and BCAM. Marquez pauses, the briefest hesitation, not from fear but from disgust, and he thinks of Lila's draft email, her warning about cut scenes, and he realizes the killer isn't just referencing film language, he's building a world where film language is law, where human life is coverage, where pain is just another angle to capture. Ellis points left, ACAM, because the limp hand on the monitor had been framed from a high corner, a security-like view, and left feels like it matches that perspective, and Marquez nods, and they take it, boots quiet on damp concrete, flashlights now working again because the killer has allowed it, because control includes letting you see exactly what he wants you to see, and as they move the corridor widens into something older, brick arches, rusted conduit, the kind of infrastructure that looks like it was built when the city believed it would last forever. The first sign they are close is the smell. Not blood, not yet, but human. Sweat. Stale breath. Something like damp hair. It's faint but unmistakable, and it slices through the artificial cleanliness like truth cutting through propaganda. Marquez holds up a fist, the team halts, and in the silence between train passes they hear it, a thin scraping sound, like nails on metal, irregular, weak, the sound of someone signaling without voice. They advance. Another turn. A door, this one not disguised, just a solid metal slab with a small viewing window. The window is covered in the same frosted plastic as the earlier room, but here the plastic is torn at one corner, and through that tear Marquez sees movement, just a blur, a shift of pale skin, a twitch. Police, he says under his breath, not as a formal announcement but as a promise to himself, and he reaches for the handle. Locked. Ellis steps in, produces a small tool from his pocket, a slim pick set he shouldn't have, but every veteran detective has a few sins that aren't on paper, and he starts working the lock with hands that don't shake, and Marquez watches the torn plastic, watches the shadow inside flinch, and he hears a faint whimper that punches through his ribs like a fist. The lock clicks. Ellis swings the door open and the smell hits harder now, ammonia, bleach, and beneath it the iron-sweet note of old blood, and the room inside is small, cluttered, lit by a single bulb, and the first thing Marquez sees is the hand from the feed, because it's attached to an arm that's strapped to a chair bolted to the floor, and attached to that arm is a body that is alive, barely, but alive. It's not Lila. The woman in the chair is older, early 30s maybe, hair matted, cheeks hollow, wrists bruised purple where restraints bite. Her eyes snap toward the doorway with the wild brightness of prey. She tries to speak and only a rasp comes out, something half word, half sob. Ellis is already at her side, cutting straps, murmuring, you're safe, but his voice sounds small in this room, because safety is a concept that doesn't belong here. Marquez's brain tries to reconcile it. A different victim. Another missing person. Another story spliced into this one. And then, like a slap, the implication lands, this isn't a single disappearance. It's a pipeline. It's a pattern. It's a production schedule. The woman's lips tremble. She croaks, and then she coughs, deep and wet, and Marquez leans in, gentle despite the adrenaline burning his veins. Who? He asks. She swallows, eyes darting around the room as if the walls might answer for her. The voice, she whispers. The one who talks like he's on the radio. She shudders. He called you the audience. Ellis's face tightens, and he glances at Marquez with a look that says the same thought, he's been doing this longer than we thought. They guide the woman up, support her weight, and Marquez scans the room for anything that matters, notes, drives, discs, anything tangible, and he spots a shelf lined with tapes, old-school mini-DV and labeled DVDs, each in a paper sleeve with clean handwriting. Names. Dates. Boroughs. Some are crossed out, some circled, some marked with a single word that makes his skin crawl, delivered. He reaches for one sleeve at random and reads, Heart, L, Take 2, the 14th of March 08. His throat locks. It's real. It's here. Lila wasn't an urban legend. She was a file in someone's archive. Ellis sees it too, and for a second the hardened detective mask cracks, revealing something raw underneath, because this isn't just murder, it's cataloging, it's ownership, and if Lila is a label on a shelf then her humanity was reduced to metadata by someone who thinks that's power. A sound cuts through their focus, a soft beep from the corridor outside, like a device arming. Marquez's head snaps up. Move, he says, and the word is sharp, urgent, because the longer you stay on a set, the more likely the set kills you. They hustle the woman out, back into the corridor, and that's when the speaker finally speaks again, voice smooth as polished stone. Wrong room, it says, almost kindly. But nice save. That's good television. Ellis snarls, where is Lila? But the voice ignores the question, because it has the privilege of narrative control. Do you know what editors call it? It says, when you cut away from a face at the last second. Mercy. And mercy is always a choice. Marquez feels the corridor subtly vibrate as a train passes, and the LEDs pulse in time with the rumble, and he realizes with a cold certainty that the building itself is synced to this system, that the killer has wired his world into the city's heartbeat. They reach the fork again, ACAM and BCAM, and Marquez makes a decision that feels like tearing a page out of someone else's script. Ellis, take her out, he says. Back the way we came. Now. Ellis starts to protest, and Marquez cuts him off with a look. That's an order. It's not just about the victim. It's about integrity. If the killer wants them split, they will split on their terms, not his, and Ellis knows it, hates it, but he nods and takes the woman, two detectives escorting them, retreating into the darkness. Marquez turns toward BCAM alone with one detective, the one whose eyes still look steady, and they move fast, because the longer Lila remains a label on a shelf, the more likely her story has already been cut to its final frame. BCAM corridor is narrower, lower ceiling, more modern wiring, and the air smells cleaner, like someone maintains this passage regularly. That's bad. Clean means active. Clean means used. The voice returns, softer now, as if speaking just to Marquez. You're improving, it says. You're starting to understand the rhythm. A pause. But you're still chasing the plot. The plot is a decoy. The cut is the truth. Marquez's palms sweat on his grip. He forces his voice into ice. You want to be a director, he says. Direct yourself into cuffs. A laugh, genuine amusement. Cuffs are props, the voice replies. So are you. They reach another junction, and here the corridor opens into a larger space with multiple doors, each marked with a symbol, a film reel, a microphone, a train icon, a simple eye. It feels like a control hub, like a menu of horrors, and the detective beside Marquez whispers, "This is insane," like saying it might make it less real. Marquez picks the door marked with the eye, because eyes have been everywhere in this case, cameras, lenses, watching, and when he pushes it open he finds a room filled with monitors, more than before, dozens, each showing a different angle of tunnels and closets and platforms, but one monitor is larger, centered like a throne screen, and on it is a live feed of Ellis and the woman moving back through the passage, limping, careful, and beneath it, text overlays in clean white font, cutting to safety. Marquez lunges toward the console, scanning for controls, yanking cables, anything, but the system is locked behind a password prompt that stares back at him like a smirk, and then he sees another text line appear on the throne screen, or cutting it OFF. His blood goes cold. Ellis, he speaks into his radio, but there's only static. Ellis, respond. Nothing. The radio isn't dead. It's being muted. Edited. The voice returns, close enough to feel like breath. Every rescue, it murmurs, is a test. Do you think you saved her? Or did you just move her to a different scene? Marquez whips around, gun sweeping the shadows, but there's no body, no footstep, no silhouette, only the monitors and the hum, and then, on a small screen in the corner, a new feed appears, grainy, low light, a familiar hallway, the flickering bulb, and Lila's face slides into frame, older than in the clips, thinner, eyes still fiercely alive, and for 1 second Marquez forgets everything except the raw fact of her existence. Lila, he whispers, and the room seems to tighten around that name. Lila stares into the camera like she's staring into him. Her lips move, and this time the audio is clearer than it has ever been, because the killer wants it clear, because the killer wants the line to land. Marquez, she says, and hearing his name from her mouth is like being punched in the chest, because it means she knows him, it means she's been watching too, forced to watch, learning the cast of the show she's trapped in. Don't, she begins, but her voice trembles, and her eyes flick to something off-screen, something approaching, and she swallows hard. Don't come alone, she breathes, urgency like fire. He wants. The feed glitches. A black frame cuts in. Then another. Then her image returns, but her face is turned slightly now, as if someone has grabbed her hair just out of frame. Her eyes widen, not with surprise but with resignation. She knows the cut is coming. Marquez slams his fist into the console. Stop, he roars, and it isn't a command to the system, it's a command to the universe, to time, to whatever God watches New York's underbelly. The voice chuckles softly. You're getting emotional, it says. That's good audio. Then the throne screen switches from Lila to Ellis again, and Marquez's stomach drops, because Ellis is no longer moving forward. He's stopped. The corridor behind him is dark, the lead strip dead, and the detective escorting him is gone. The rescued woman is gone too. Ellis turns his head slowly, like he's hearing something behind him, and in the corner of the frame a silhouette appears, tall, still, too smooth to be a shadow of bad lighting, and then the feed cuts to black before Marquez can see the face. Marquez feels something inside him fracture, a hard crack beneath the ribs, because this is what the killer does, he doesn't just take people, he takes choices, he takes the illusion of progress and snaps it in half right when you start to believe you can win. He turns rescue into regret. He turns bravery into bait. The voice becomes almost tender. Now, it says, we have stakes. Marquez forces himself to breathe. He steadies his hands. He looks at the keyboard prompt again, the locked system, and he thinks of the note, stop following the threads, start following the cuts. The cuts are the gaps. The cuts are the things removed. The cuts are the moments where the killer assumes you're blind. He scans the room for the blind spot. Not the cameras, those are eyes. He looks for what the eyes don't see. And there, beneath the console, half hidden by a cable bundle, is a small metal plate with fresh screws, too new for a room that otherwise looks lived in. A cover. A concealment. A cut. Marquez drops to his knees, pulls out his knife, and starts unscrewing. The detective with him whispers, "What are you doing?" and Marquez answers without looking up, voice low and furious. Finding the part he didn't want in the final version. The plate comes loose. Behind it is a cavity holding a single object, a cheap flip phone, battery taped in place, screen lit with one unsent draft message, typed in stark block letters like a last gasp of truth. Cut point, 3:14. QBP stairwell. She's not the only one. And beneath that message, one more line, shorter, colder, and it lands like a gun cocking in the dark. Don't trust your editor. The flip phone feels like a live wire in Marquez's palm, cheap plastic and tape battery, but the message on its screen is a blade, cut point, 314, Queensboro Plaza stairwell. She's not the only one. Don't trust your editor. And the words don't read like a tip, they read like a warning dragged out of someone under pressure, a warning written fast with shaking hands while the camera light blinked red in the corner, and Marquez's first instinct is to look up, not at the monitors, not at the walls, but at the man standing behind him, the one he brought down here because he thought he could trust him, the one whose breathing he can hear in the hum of electronics, and in the glow of the screens the detective's face is half lit, half erased, like a bad exposure, and Marquez suddenly understands the point of the whole aesthetic. This place is built to make you doubt what you see, to make you question the cut between frame and frame, to make you suspect the person standing closest to you. The voice hasn't spoken for a few seconds, and that silence is intentional too, the way a director holds a beat before a scare, and in that beat Marquez slides the phone into his jacket pocket like it's contraband, like it's the one piece of reality the set doesn't own, and he forces his face into calm because panic is the kind of performance the cameras love, and he turns slowly, as if nothing has changed, as if he hasn't just been handed a line that could get him killed. You see something? The detective asks, trying to sound casual, but casual doesn't live underground, not here, and the man's eyes flick briefly to the wall of monitors, to the throne screen that went black, to the place where Ellis vanished, and then back to Marquez, too quick, too practiced, like checking continuity. Marquez keeps his voice flat. We're leaving, he says. We get more people. We come back with warrants and the whole damn city. The detective's jaw tightens, just a fraction, and Marquez feels the shift like pressure in weather. We can't, the man says. We've got a live situation. Live? The word hits wrong. Too on brand. Too aligned with the killer's obsession. Marquez nods once, slow, like he's agreeing, like he's still the reasonable lead detective in control, and he takes one step toward the door, and then another, and he watches the other man's hands, because hands tell the truth before faces do. The detective's right hand is loose near his holster, not drawn, but ready. His left hand hovers near his radio even though it's been cut to static. The posture is protective. Not protective of Marquez. Protective of the set. Marquez's mind races through the last hour like an editor scrubbing a timeline, looking for the cut point where things shifted, who insisted on going deeper, who hesitated when the cameras appeared, who reacted wrong when the first victim wasn't Lila, who knew too much, who stayed too calm when they should have been shaken, and the answer keeps snapping back to the same frame, the MTA supervisor's warning, the idea of people down there you don't mess with, the leak from evidence, the note on his desk, the phrase don't trust your editor, and the editor isn't just the voice on the speaker, the editor is the person who decides what information reaches you, what gets muted, what gets leaked, what gets erased. A monitor in the corner flickers back to life, and the voice returns, silky, amused, like it's been listening to their heartbeats. Careful, it murmurs. That's a delicate moment. Don't ruin it with improvisation. Marquez doesn't look at the screens. He looks at the detective. What's your name again? He asks, quietly. The man blinks. Riley, he says. Too fast. Like he expected the question. Marquez lets that sit, then nods toward Riley's feet. In the half-light, the sneakers are bright. Too bright. Too clean for a night in tunnels. White, almost glowing. Marquez feels his stomach drop with a cold, familiar click, the delivery driver's memory, the wrongness of clean white sneakers on a rainy night near the service door. Riley notices Marquez noticing, and the corner of his mouth twitches, not quite a smile, more like a decision being made. We need to move, he says, sharper now. Yeah, Marquez says. We do. He moves first, not toward the door, not toward the monitors, but sideways, toward the wall of equipment racks, because racks are cover, racks break line of sight, racks are the only thing in this room that isn't designed to help the person watching. Riley's hand drops toward his holster. Marquez doesn't wait for the draw. He grabs a coil of cable from a cart and whips it low, tangling Riley's legs just enough to disrupt balance, and the movement is ugly, not heroic, but in a space built for cinema, ugliness is survival. Riley stumbles, catches himself, and the gun comes out, not pointed yet, but present, a prop turned real. Don't, Riley warns, voice tight. Marquez's gun is already up. The air between them feels thin, charged. The voice chuckles softly through the speaker. Oh, it says, pleased. That's a good cut. Marquez keeps his aim steady. Where's Ellis? He demands. Riley's eyes flick toward the monitors. You think I know, he snaps, but his tone is wrong, defensive in the way liars get when they are forced off script. We're wasting time. Time. Marquez's brain flashes back to the flip phone message, cut point, 3:14. He glances at his watch. 3:07, 7 minutes. The killer loves timing. The killer loves beats. The killer loves countdowns. Marquez backs toward the doorway, forcing Riley to either follow or shoot, and Riley follows, because shooting ends the game too quickly, because shooting removes the audience, because shooting is a hard cut the director doesn't want yet. They move into the corridor, the LEDs pulsing faster now, like a heart ramping up to a climax. The speaker hisses, then the voice purrs, 7 minutes, as if reading Marquez's thoughts. You're learning. Marquez keeps his back to the wall, gun-trained. You're wired into my squad, he says, to the air, to the voice, to the building. You've got a cop on your payroll. A soft laugh. Payroll is such an old word, the voice replies. I prefer collaboration. Riley's eyes harden. Stop talking, he growls at Marquez, and the anger in his voice isn't about being accused, it's about losing control of the narrative. The corridor ahead branches again, and above it, the same stenciled labels glow faintly, ACAM, BCAM. Marquez doesn't choose either. He chooses the scene between, the unmarked maintenance crawlspace hatch half hidden behind a conduit, because don't trust your editor means don't follow the path laid out for you, and he drops to a knee and yanks it open. Riley lunges, but Marquez moves fast, sliding into the hatch, metal scraping his shoulders, the space tight and filthy and real in a way the staged corridors aren't. He hears Riley curse, hears boots pounding, hears the hatch slam as Riley tries to follow, but the crawl space is narrow, one person at a time, and Marquez uses that, kicks backward hard, heel connecting with something solid, a grunt, and then he crawls forward like an animal, flashlight beam bouncing, thick with dust and hot wire. Behind him, the voice speaks softly, almost intimate. You shouldn't fight your editor, it says. It makes the cut messy. Marquez ignores it. He crawls until the space opens into a vertical shaft with a ladder bolted to brick, and above, a faint draft carries the smell of the station, oil, rain, human sweat, the city's breath. He climbs, hands slipping on rust, hard hammering, and he hears Riley scrambling behind him, furious, and he hears the distant thunder of a train pass like a giant clearing its throat. He reaches the top, pushes a panel, and the panel gives. He emerges into a cramped utility closet that reeks of mop water and bleach, and through the slats of the closet door he sees fluorescent light, the familiar sick glow of Queensboro Plaza service level. His back. Back above. Back where commuters don't see. Back where the first bloody bag began the story. His watch reads 3:12. 2 minutes. Marquez's pulse is loud in his ears. Cut point 3:14. Queensboro Plaza stairwell. Third stairwell down. Rusted handle. The hidden panel. The switch that disengages the lock for 30 seconds. 30 seconds. It's all rhythm. It's all timing. And if the killer is running a timed sequence at 3:14, that sequence is either an exit, transfer, or an execution. He slips out of the closet, hugging the wall, moving like he's trying not to disturb the set dressing of reality. The station is quieter now, late night thin. A janitor in the distance pushes a cart, earbuds in, oblivious. Somewhere above, a train screeches, and the sound is so familiar now it feels like it's been stitched into his bones. He reaches the stairwell. Rusted handle. His hand closes around it. He feels the cold metal, the grit, the damp. He looks down the stairs into the dim service area where the public doesn't go. And for a second, he hesitates, because this is exactly what the voice wants, exactly the cut it's been guiding him toward, but then he thinks of Ellis's face frozen on a screen, thinks of Lila whispering, "Don't come alone," thinks of the rescued woman strapped to a chair with her eyes hollowed by fear, and he knows he's already in the story whether he wants to be or not. The only thing he controls is what he does with his role. He moves down fast, quieter than adrenaline wants him to be. Behind the utility signage, he finds the panel. Fresh screws. 2 new. He pries it open. The switch is there, like a stage prop left precisely where the actor needs it. His watch reads 3 hours 13 minutes and 48 seconds. He flips the switch. Somewhere inside the wall, a lock clicks. He yanks the hidden door open and slips through, and as it swings shut behind him, the station's fluorescent hum dies away, replaced by damp silence and a low electrical thrum that feels like the city's bloodstream. His watch ticks to 3 hours and 14 minutes. And the world cuts. Not metaphorically. Literally. The lights in the passage flicker once and then snap into a different mode, brighter, colder, like emergency lighting. The lead strip along the floor ignites in a rapid chase pattern, guiding movement in one direction only. Somewhere behind him, the door he came through clunks, locks resetting. 30 seconds. The switch window closing. He's been timed into a corridor like a bead sliding down a wire. Ahead, the tunnel breathes with train noise, louder now, a constant roar like the city is grinding its teeth. He runs, because standing still means becoming a shot someone else composes. He runs past Echo, 7 tags that look freshly repainted, past the dripping film reel symbol, past a camera lens that whirs as it tracks him, and he can feel, physically, the sensation of being followed by glass eyes. The voice returns, low and delighted. There it is, it whispers. That's the cut point. That's where the audience leans in. Marquez's boots slap wet concrete. He turns a corner and nearly collides with a figure in the dim light, Ellis. Ellis is upright but wrong, shoulders too rigid, face slack in a way that makes Marquez's blood freeze. There's a strip of black tape over Ellis's mouth, and his wrists are bound with zip ties, and behind him, half hidden in the shadow of a doorway, stands Riley, white sneakers glowing like teeth, gun trained on Ellis's head like a director holding the final frame in his hands. Riley's eyes are wild now, stripped of polite cop disguise. "Drop it," he says through clenched teeth. "Drop the gun." Marquez doesn't. He aims at Riley. 2 guns, 1 hostage, the oldest scene in the book, but down here it feels worse because it's being filmed, because it's being turned into content. Ellis's eyes lock on Marquez, and in them is fury and shame and a silent warning, don't do what he wants. The speaker crackles, and the voice slides between them like smoke. "Perfect," it murmurs. "That's perfect blocking. Look at the tension. Look at the symmetry." Marquez's jaw tightens until his molars ache. "Where's Lila?" he demands, voice low, controlled. Riley laughs once, sharp. "You still think this is about one girl," he spits. His gun presses closer to Ellis's temple. Ellis flinches, but doesn't whimper. Tough to the end. It's bigger than that. Marquez's eyes flick past them, to the doorway behind Riley. The air spilling out of it is colder, and inside, he sees a faint flicker of monitor light, the glow of screens, the pulse of a set. And he hears, beneath everything, a faint human sound, a breath, a muffled sob, a cough. Not Ellis. Someone else. Riley sees Marquez's attention shift and smiles, and that smile is the ugliest thing yet because it's satisfied. "He told me you'd look," Riley says. "He told me you can't help it. You're an editor too, detective. You want the truth so bad you'll cut your own partner loose to get it." Marquez keeps his gun trained on Riley. "You're not walking out of here," he says. Riley's eyes gleam. "Neither are you," he replies, and then, with a casual flick of his wrist, he jerks Ellis backward into the doorway behind him, dragging him like a prop being repositioned. Ellis stumbles, muffled shout trapped behind tape, and Riley's gun stays locked to him as they disappear into the darker room. Marquez moves to follow, but the floor beneath his feet vibrates hard, train passing directly overhead, so close the dust shakes loose from the ceiling, and in that roar the LEDs along the corridor flicker, the light sequence stuttering for half a second like a dropped frame, and Marquez feels it in his bones. The system is about to do another cut. He lunges forward anyway, because if he hesitates now, the story will be edited without him, and as he crosses the threshold into the room Riley dragged Ellis into, the lights slam off behind him with a heavy clunk, sealing the corridor in black, and the door he came through locks with a mechanical snap that sounds final. Inside, the room is larger than the others, colder, lined with acoustic foam and camera rigs, and in the center is a chair, another chair bolted to the floor, and strapped to it is the woman Ellis had rescued, eyes wide again, mouth gagged, tears running into the grime on her cheeks. She wasn't moved to safety. She was moved to a different scene. The throne screen on the wall shows a live feed of Marquez entering, the timecode ticking, and beneath it the same clean white font blooms onto the image like a curse. This is the editor's choice. Riley stands beside Ellis now, and Ellis is forced to his knees, tape still on his mouth, eyes blazing, and Riley's white sneakers are planted like punctuation marks. Riley's gun shifts, not at Ellis now, but at the bound woman, forcing Marquez's attention to split, because splitting attention is how you make someone fail. The speaker above them crackles softly, and the voice, calm, amused, intimate, whispers into the room like it's leaning into a studio mic. Now, it says, show me what you're willing to cut.